Welcome to week 2 of Clicker Training Mastery. I'm super delighted to have you here. For Caro, we had some technical difficulties. I couldn't find my own link. It happens, and I was busy doing my own assessments and my own homework. Let's start. I have to start up the presentation, and I'm so well, I want always pen and paper. I have a pen, but I have no paper, so I'll do it by heart, because I want to start. I didn't do that last week but I want to start asking everybody about their homework, and start with answering your questions, and because then I also can tell you that's the information that I will talk about today as well, or where we are. I have to open my documents. Look it up. Well, I'm just gonna leave this in the recording because this is live and this is just how it is. And this is the presentation. And then, because, yeah, I was looking at the presentations let's see. This is week 2. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. I was looking at the presentations of the Ultimate Horse Training Formula, and I realized that I started every week with the questions: how did it go, and did you encounter any problems? And what was your experience with the homework, which is really important feedback for me. So I didn't have that in the presentation, so I would like to start with that right now. Hilde, how did your homework go?
Well, it was a bit scary because, as you said, now you really get to measure where you are. And I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't as good as I would like it to be. But at the same time, it's very good to have it on video and written down, and it's very clear where to start working. But I was a bit ashamed, I must say.
Well, I can tell you this. I decided to do it myself just to know what I'm put you through. And I was also, of course, a little bit worried, like, oh, how would it go? Because now it's about seconds, and if I think she will react about within 2 seconds and she takes 10, then I will be embarrassed as well. But then again, it's the baseline, and that's the only way to improve. You have to know where you're at and what points of the behavior you need to improve. That's the only way. So measuring is the best way. And let me tell you this is homework. This is a learning environment. I will never ever share it without permission. Cara will do it. Yes, Carol, you have to do it. I know she will. I will do it. I will upload my homework too. And I just want to congratulate you, Hilde, with being brave and being the first to share, because that's the second thing. It's super scary to do. And then the second thing is, oh, and now you have to share it. So congratulations, you did it. I haven't watched the videos yet, but I will do it today or tomorrow, and I'll give you some feedback. But the most important thing is, this is not about judging or this is your assessment, and this is about your expectations, not about my expectations. I have my own expectations with Mira's behavior. So, and by making it homework, it's just an accountability to do it. And it's really after 7-8 weeks, you can assess yourself again, because the behavior, I'm not worried about the behaviors because they are already learned. It's just, where do you want to improve it? And just thinking about it. I'll take my notes just a second. Yeah, by doing it, I saw that I made um, that I forgot to in the instructions. I forgot to tell you about what number 4 meant, because it's from the results go from 0 to 4, and I said 3 is the behavior exceeded the expected criterion, and then 4.
Yeah.
I didn't explain what 4 is, so I have to redo that. So it was a good thing that I did it myself, because I learned a lot about it, and also accuracy. Like, what does the ideal behavior look like? I realized, for me, my learning points were, the accuracy, I have it pretty good in my head, but when I was filming, I decided, put the camera on record and just do it. Don't practice, because it's about the baseline. So this is what we get. What we get is what we get. But then I realized, and I will show you in the video later today, that the mat training, normally I was performing. So I was doing things that I normally don't do. I'm like, oh, I stand here and I send her to the mat. That normally she does do that, but because I was like confused in my head, I was acting differently. And then for a baseline, I would just suggest, walk to the mat, point to the mat like you always do. Don't raise criteria suddenly, which what happened to me. So it was super valuable to go through it myself and realize what happened. The other key lessons were, I did also wrote assessment for table manners for myself. It's not on cue, but I know there's some things that I would like to work on with Kira. So that was my experience. So thank you again for sharing and being brave. And yeah, tell me about it. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I was like you. I performed, so I felt different, and I could feel her behaving different. And I started to think while I was doing it, because I thought, is it the really basics of the behavior? Because now it can be so many things, the target and the mat. I've done so many variations, and I even got confused by myself for what am I really doing. So of course she got confused when I suddenly didn't know what I was doing. I thought that this is the basics, it's the first thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I really wanted to do it over again, film it all again. But then I know this is what it was. And
This is the baseline. This is just, you get what you get,
and I
um,
it's
and
not
it's
for the horse, it's for me as well. I
it's
thought,
for you, and it's also, it's very, very important to realize it's just one moment in time, and it does not reflect everything. And that's, it's just one moment. You freeze one moment and then you assess it,
yeah,
and it gives you um, not everything, because it's in the moment. We are nervous, we act differently, the horses, therefore the horses act differently, um, and but it also gives you a valuable baseline, and then the progress, that's the little thing in at the top, the progress, that will be the fun stuff, because then you know better. Because I had the same questions uh, like with mat training. I'm like, do I include duration here? What are my expectations for the baseline? Well, now the baseline, let's see, let's be honest, mat training, um, my expectation was 1 minute for the mat
yeah,
at this point. But targeting, I realized that there's a difference between targeting as a key lesson, touch the target, and targeting as a goal, like duration. So I had the same confusion. I didn't find the video yet, but I did video that as well. And then with mat training, I had like, okay, and do I have to, because that's where I drifted off in my video.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, going to the mat, stepping off of the mat. Oh, let's walk a circle and step over the mat and ignore the mat. But that's not really the, yeah, you could do it as a baseline exercise. But I was like, what are my expectations?
I got the same feeling.
So it's I totally get you, and it's but this is also a learning process. Like, what are our expectations? Like, step mat training is basically like in the ultimate horse training, it's basically step on the mat, that's
Yeah,
it. And you, what I wrote it down, step onto the middle of the mat, because I raised my criteria.
mm,
2 front hooves, standing square. So her hind legs, I'm practicing her hind legs standing square. I just so standing square altogether. And
mm,
what else? I want a relaxed body, ears forward. I want her just to wait and be comfortable at the mat, not like,
mm.
because I just really, really want that relaxation in there. But yeah, basically duration, I put 1 minute there, and I know she could do it, but on the video I wasn't timing 1 minute. So there's like, but that's good, because that's the difference between the expectations
Yeah,
and how well I have thought about my own expectations, and then in reality, because um, and then targeting was really interesting, because I know she's really fluent. Her latency target, it's target. But the duration, like, I know she could touch it, but duration, that's more, it's a different, I realize it's a different behavior than the key lesson. The key lesson is just teach your horse the concept of targeting, and there's no real duration in there. So, yeah. What else did you discover?
yeah. Well, it was mostly that I realized I have to be clear on my own expectations for her to be able to do her best. So I learned that I I need to, yeah, I really need to be clear. And I got, even though I had written down what I expected it to look like, but when I was working, I was mixing up with this duration. Should I do some duration here, or is it just touch? So yeah, got confused in the middle. And I think if it has, now I was doing this videoing and assessing, and I think if it was an ordinary training, I would have to stop and give myself a timeout to think before I would keep on working, because I was rather clueless for a while there. So, but now I've finished.
Well, it taught me something different, because most of the I have learned this from a professional dog trainer who Steve White, and Steve White trains dogs for police and the army. So it's really, really, really a must to have like accuracy, duration, latency, distance, distractions, intensity, everything. So not everything is really applicable to all horse behaviors, but what I learned from this, and I will add to the training assessment, is more for us trainers. What do we expect from ourselves? Um, and that's something that I see over and over again. Everybody is about training the animal, but I'm always like, but how can I support the person to train the animal? And this is a professional assessment sheet for really, and I already adjusted it, but this is really like the highest of the highest things to measure. So it's a really good tool, but that's only what it is. It's just realizing how much it influences you, and but also thinking about, if you don't know what you expect from your horse in training, you can get frustrated easily, and you can never feel satisfied, because if there is no expectation, then you can also never meet it and never celebrate it. So it's it, and I totally agree. It was, for me, it was also like a lot of uncertainty, and but at the same time I realized, once I'm doing this, it will lead me forward, because now I have a tool to measure my behaviors and to have a baseline. And then it's really, the criteria are so clear, and all the criteria for stimulus control are in there. So this is a very, very valuable tool. So I'm really happy with it. But I totally agree. It's scary, and but it's also, yeah, it's very, I learned a lot doing it.
And I thought as well, well, I did, it will be so much better next time, because I started quite low, I think. So there will really be progress, I think. So I'm looking forward for the next time. It will be much better, I think.
Absolutely. And you can always redo this, but then it's the, you have progress. And also, what, that's the thing that I wanted to say, but I forgot, with the targeting, for instance, that made me realize that I did practice duration at targeting, but for the baseline now, what I ask myself, what is good enough? And basically, I expected too much for baseline. For baseline, I would say touching is just reacting and touching the target, and that's it. It's not asking to touch and stay on the target until I say you can go now. That's not the key lesson. And I wrote down behavior key lesson. So I can also be honest with myself and say, okay, when I write down behavior targeting, then the baseline would be what I'm measuring at that moment, and then I can build duration from there.
Yeah, I think I can make another baseline for targeting and stay with the target. That could be, I can make another baseline for that. I can make baselines for everything.
You can baseline everything. You can also baseline aligning up for the mountain block, and I think if you make these assessments for the behaviors once in a while, and then do it like a few weeks later or at the end of the week when you're practicing, and this is just rinse and repeat, because behavior never ends. If it's perfect, it's only perfect in that moment of time. It does not give you guarantees, because there can always be a distraction, or we are super nervous because the camera is rolling and we behave different. So there is no such thing as it's not a machine. We are not machines. Our animals are not machines. But there is, at a certain point, and that's something that we've all discovered already, is that at a certain point you can count on certain behaviors with a certain quality, and that's what we want. And that certain behavior, certain quality is, you can, it's not a static something, it's stretchable. It's like, well, she aligned and today she was like 1 centimeter closer to the mounting block. But as long as I can get on safe, it's within the boundaries. It's something that, yes, we did it, and she understands it. And the horse really, really knows, because they know exactly how much they move their hindquarters for you not to mount her. They know. So as long as if you practice it a lot and they let you mount, then they are also okay with it. So that's the interesting thing. Anything else you want to add to it?
No. It was scary, but it was fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I realized. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this too, because and I'm happy I did it, because now I know what I put you through. And I was also curious, but at the same time, I was also nervous. Like, will she perform today?
Yeah, this is serious now, I think. Yeah.
But it's not. It's just a moment in time. And that's all it is. It's to capture this moment so you can have a starting point. And if it goes below your expectations, it's basically you are setting yourself up for success, because from there you can only go up, like what you said. So it's no matter what happens, it's good. It's a very, very useful. And also, I found it really interesting with the different behaviors, to do a baseline for different behaviors. Okay, let's share my screen.
Yeah, I'll just get some light.
Yeah, no problem. Clicker Training Mastery Week 2. Today I would like to tell you a little bit about the ABC of positive reinforcement training. What is it? I would like to implement a little bit more of the scientific definitions so we get used to it. How we fade out tools. I love that part. Techniques to get more behavior and click less. 5 more pitfalls, and then we are talking a little bit about case studies, and then homework and Q&A. And I'm going to get my notes. I'm so prepared today. Let's see if I have to go to the right notes today. These are the notes of last week. I'm making a mental note. Start earlier. It was a little bit of a hectic thing with the new daylight savings.
Yeah, I wish they would stop doing that. I get so confused.
Well, in Europe, and in the Netherlands, they are thinking of
Yeah,
not doing it.
I hope this will be the last time. Yeah.
Okay, I see that you were 2 times logged in, so I'm trying to.
I couldn't get rid of myself, my second self.
Let's see if that will work. If I get. If I keep you both out, that it doesn't work. Okay.